So I think we'll start since it's 5:30, and we might have a few people streaming in. Well, speaking of streaming, I just want to recognize that we're actually live streaming this, and so hello to the people who are sitting at home. And by the way, if you have questions about either one of these trips, you can email Brian, who you'll meet in a few minutes, or myself, and those emails are in the flyers. So my name is Joel Barnes. I'm the Director of Sustainability and Experience-Led at Wasatch Academy. And myself and Brian Sawyer, we're here just to give you some of the details about these two really exciting spring break trips. Each year, Wasatch Academy offers at least a few trips for our students. It really helps the students to have a trip that actually encompasses the entire spring break. So basically, they don't have to plan. Their entire spring break is planned for them. And so these two trips are the trips we're offering this year. And we've been offering these trips for a long time. They're a really long tradition. And each year we try and offer an international trip as well as a domestic trip. And so that's what we have this year. We have an international trip to Ecuador and Galapagos and a domestic trip to the Colorado Plateau and the San Juan River and the Navajo Nation. So I would like to introduce Brian Sawyer. He is from Adventures Cross Country, and he's going to tell us a little bit about the Ecuador trip.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for having me. If you haven't already, definitely make sure that you get one of those detailed itineraries. Unfortunately, I don't have a whole lot of time tonight to go over the details of the program. So really the point is just to talk about ARC, our Adventures Cross Country, as an organization, and then talk a little bit about getting ready for the program. And then I'll briefly go through the itinerary, but honestly, if you can grab one of those, we'll email those out to families who aren't able to attend live. And that will kind of give you the day-by-day, the activity-by-activity inside.
I think it's the down arrow.
Is it not going forward?
No.
Try again.
So like I said, I'm just going to kind of give an introduction to ARC, and then I'll talk a little bit about what you need in order to go on the program, and then I'll talk a little bit about the program. So again, my name is Brian Sawyer, and I am the Director of Custom Programs, and so what that means is I kind of travel around the U.S. working with schools to plan educational experiences that kind of meet the school's expected outcomes, and so I kind of plan trips to Ecuador and Cuba and all over the place. Pictured with me, but not here tonight, is Scott Von Eschen. He's the president of ARC Programs, and he has 25 plus years of experience and is a really huge wealth of knowledge when it comes to international trips and education programs. Besides us two, we have a whole office full of dedicated staff who are there to help us make sure the trip goes smoothly. A trip like this takes a lot of planning and a lot of logistics, and it's actually started weeks ago in getting flights and making sure our partners are able to do the itinerary and all kinds of things like that. So our program started in 1983, so this is our 37th year. And actually we started as an outdoor program. So our Adventures Rolling Cross Country, that's where we get ARC, ARCC. We used to load teenagers into a van, drive across national and state parks, and do backpacking and whitewater rafting and things like that. And over the past 30 years or so, we've really transitioned to service learning programs and cultural immersion. And so we've run programs all over the world. In fact, we've worked with Wasatch in the past. So we've done a Tanzania program, a Vietnam, Cambodia program, and a Fiji program with Wasatch before. ARC's mission is to provide unique, life-changing educational experiences for teenagers in places rarely visited and situations seldom experienced. And what that means is we're going to get off the beaten track. We want to provide authentic experiences for our students, and so that means getting outside of the major tourist areas in the cities and going and working with small villages where they can see daily life in the way they live in that country and lend a hand to different service projects and just immerse themselves in an experience that is something different than they would get if you were just, going on a tour of Ecuador or the Galapagos. The biggest question I think I get from parents is about our safety precautions. Honestly, our safety record is unmatched. We've never had a student stay in the hospital due to injury. Honestly, I've been working in the office for the past 5 years now, and even under that time, we've dealt with everything under the sun, from elections in Africa to illness in Southeast Asia, and so really it's all about the things that we do prior to the trip that makes the trip safe and run smoothly. Our in-country partners are awesome. They know we've scouted out all the closest hospitals and clinics. And then we have awesome leaders who all have what we call a WFR, Wilderness First Responder. And that's an 80-hour medical course that's kind of one step below an EMT, which is nice if anything were to happen, but really what's the most important is that it allows them to kind of have some foresight of things that they need to be aware of and really prevent those things. And so our kind of faceted approach to safety really makes sure that everyone is safe and having a wonderful time in the program. I mentioned our leaders. Our leaders are coaches, teachers, outdoor educators, and for our custom programs like this, we get to choose leaders, our best leaders from our summer and GAP programs, and have leaders who have been in these locations, who speak the language, and so our leaders are really the heart and soul of our programs, and they connect with the students, and they help the students go through this experience so that it's a meaningful experience for them at the end. So talking a little bit about kind of pre-program information, just getting prepared for the program and what you need in order to attend. So there is no experience necessary to come on the Ecuador Galapagos program. You don't have to speak Spanish, you don't have to be well-traveled. All you need are these 3 attributes, which is a positive attitude, active and enthusiastic participation, and a willingness to learn. Many times our programs are designed to get students stepping outside of their comfort zone and to experience something they've never had. And so sometimes that can be really hard for students. And so if your son or daughter is thinking about this, make sure that they know what they're getting into and that they're signing up, that we aren't just going to be touring around and going to markets, but we're going to, in some places rough it a little bit and go off the beaten track where other tour groups would never go. And so that's really all you need in order to attend the program. The other thing is a passport. So if you want to go on the program, you definitely need a passport, but you have time if you don't already have one, or if yours is getting ready to expire. The passport does need to be good until September 22nd of 2020, so 6 months after our return. If you are traveling with a U.S. passport, we do not require a visa to travel to Ecuador. If you are traveling with a passport from another country, then it will be important to check in with Joel or myself and make sure that we can help you figure out the requirements and help you get a visa if necessary. Prior to the trip, once we have our group and everyone's like, okay, this is who's going and who's not, what I will do is I'll send a welcome packet. And this welcome packet will contain all the information you'll need in order to travel. So it'll have a packing list. It will have a fact sheet about Ecuador and Galapagos and the locations we're going. It will have travel and health precautions, things to think about, medicines that you might want to bring. And then it'll also have a detailed itinerary with flight information on there. And then a couple weeks prior to the actual program, I'll host either an online webinar or here in person, a pre-program presentation that will kind of get everyone ready for the program. We'll talk about how to pack, what we need to make sure we have. And so my job here at ARC is just to make sure that everyone is ready for travel and everyone is feel comfortable with the locations that we're going and the activities that we're going to be doing. So let's talk a little bit about the actual program. So the program will actually start here at Wasatch Academy. We'll be flying out of Salt Lake City, and our ARC leader will meet the group in LA. And from LA, the group will make their way to Quito, Ecuador, via a stopover in Panama. The dates, as you guys have probably seen already on the flyers and the posters and the itinerary, is March 7th through the 21st. You'll land in Salt Lake City that night of the 21st, and then stay overnight, and then make your way back to campus on the 22nd. As I said, the flight is a little bit long, Salt Lake to LA, LA, Panama to Quito, but it's really the best way of getting there, and luckily we've locked down the prices now, and we've got a pretty good rate on that. So let's talk a little bit about the program segments. Obviously, that detailed itinerary is going to be super helpful because it does go day by day. When you look at that itinerary, this is the exact program that you're going to be getting. There'll be some special other things that you can't really plan for, but so if you want more details, definitely make sure you get an itinerary. But we'll start our program our first 2 days in Quito. We'll land around noon, make our way to the hotel, and kind of get cleaned up before exploring the colonial city of Quito. Just kind of getting our bearings and getting used to being in South America. From Quito, we'll make our way to the Amazon, where we'll be working with a local village on some infrastructure projects and some agriculture projects. The community is trying to create a sustainable tourist industry there, and so we help with building bungalows and different projects like that. On the way there, we stop and we soak in some local hot springs from all the volcanic reactions there in Ecuador. Once we finish our project, a way to celebrate is that we will go whitewater rafting. Now, whitewater rafting oftentimes scares some families, but this is class 2 and 3 rapids, so it's pretty calm. It's a pretty cool experience because you're surrounded by the rainforest and you're seeing these rural villages kind of on the banks, and it's just a really cool experience to kind of soak in an environment that most people never get to go to. From rafting, we'll head up to the cloud forest town of Baños. Baños is up in the cloud forest, has beautiful canyons and the swing at the edge of the world. If you haven't seen that, you could look it up. It's a really cool experience. And then from Baños, we'll head back to Quito, and then we'll end the program flying out to the Galapagos Islands, walking in the footsteps of Darwin, doing some hikes, doing some kayaking and snorkeling, and just getting to experience the diversity of one of the most beautiful and diverse places in all of the world. We'll end the program coming back to Quito. We'll have what we call our final feast, an awesome dinner, just kind of reflecting on the trip, and then we will fly back to the US. So this is a quick map of the places that we're going. As you can see, Ecuador is pretty big, and we're not going that many different places, but the places we've chosen really do highlight the diversity of Ecuador. We go to the rainforest, we're up in the cloud forest. Quito is one of the highest capitals in Latin and South America, and then we go out to the highlands of the Galapagos. So really you're seeing pretty much all sides of Ecuador in this quick trip. So talking a little bit more generally about some of the items on the program, the first question I usually get from students is, well, what are we going to eat? We're going to try to eat as much local cuisine as possible. We'll sprinkle some Western meals in there, but what that means is some rice and beans and vegetables and fruit. There'll be tons of food, plenty of food. All the facilities for parents are checked and vetted. We've been running programs in Ecuador since 2006. So we've been there for a long time. We have the same in-country partner who makes sure that everything's safe and ready for our students. Besides the meals, we'll also have what we call a snack bag, where we bring some American snacks so that some students who maybe have trouble adjusting to the food will have access to those snacks as well. Throughout the program, we'll be using a bunch of different transportation. Again, all transportation is vetted by our in-country partners. We make sure it's safe. We will never be taking public transportation, so everything is private. So we'll be using private buses. We'll be taking a commercial jet out to the Galapagos, and then also between the two islands on the Galapagos, we'll be taking a boat that's kind of shuttled or a ferry for us. The lodging throughout the trip will kind of be diverse. Honestly, in the Amazon Village, it's a little bit more rustic. It's a community bunkhouse where there's a boys' room and a girls' room, and they're all kind of like staying together. In Quito, we're staying in hostels that are kind of just our group has booked out the entire hostel. And then when we get out to the Galapagos, it's going to be a pretty nice hotel that students are pretty used to. So again, when you travel, it is a little bit about pushing students outside their comfort zone, and so there'll be different levels. It's not going to be 5-star resorts the entire time. This one is mostly for the students. They want to know about showers. And There will be showers pretty much every single day of the program, except with the exception of when we're in the Amazon and we're helping out with the village. There is a local swim hole that our groups like to kind of bathe in and use for the couple days, but again, it is a pretty remote village, it's really small, so it doesn't have all of the Western niceties that we're used to. As for laundry, we'll have a chance to do laundry at least once in the program, most likely when we get back to Quito. But honestly, we'll talk to the students about doing a hand wash and then also just having some quick dry clothes where things get less smelly that way. One last thing I want to talk about is cultural sensitivity. A lot of times students see Ecuadorian Galapagos and they think of the awesome adventure they're going to have, which is perfect. But we also want them to realize that we are traveling to someone else's home. And so we want students to be culturally aware. We really talked about this throughout the trip, and we talked about how we can immerse ourselves in a new culture and do so respectfully. As traveling as a large group of teenagers, you can see that sometimes that can be a little hard for them. They have a lot of energy, and so we talked about that a lot. But it's something that you should talk about with your student prior to the trip about what we expect when it comes to being culturally respectful. During the trip, ARC is in constant communication with its group. Our in-country partners are always talking to us about the group and what's going on. Our leaders touching base, they also have an in-country phone. Every 2 days, if not more, frequently if needed. Throughout the entire program, we'll have 24-hour coverage, and so what that means is Wasatch and families will receive our emergency number. So if something happens here in the U.S., and you need to get a hold of us, and it's 3 a.m., someone will be there to answer the phone on the other end. The same with anything in Ecuador. We will let the school know, we'll let the families know. We're in constant communication. We know how important it is that you guys are handing over your most prized possession to our care. And so we take that with full responsibility. So I'm just going to end the presentation with just some pictures. This is one of our students and leaders reading with the group of students in the Amazon. So when we're in the village, we just kind of get invested and we end up teaching English lessons, we end up playing soccer, so it's a really cool experience. This picture is in the Galapagos, and you can see that sea lion has jumped up on the kayak. They are very playful and are kind of all over the place. And when you're snorkeling, they're just swimming around you, and it's a really cool experience that kind of is a once in a lifetime. A group of our students working in the village helping with some construction and cement, and the projects, you will get dirty. We do expect you to get your hands dirty, but it's a really cool experience. And really, it's just about the connections that you're able to make with the students that you're going. They love hosting our groups. They love having the experience of a new culture, and so it's just a really cool experience to be able to share laughs and smiles, and even if you don't speak Spanish. So that is my presentation. We're going to have to take questions at the end. But really, I hope that you guys are thinking about having your students join us. If you have questions, feel free to email me, grab an itinerary. I'm going to hand it over to Joel.
Thanks, Brian. I just wanted to take a moment to introduce the two Wasatch Academy teachers who are going to be the chaperones for this trip. Mr. Dixon and Mrs. Newton, they're both very excited. You guys wanted to say a quick word? We're kind of running short on time. If you want to say as the chaperones, how excited you are.
Yeah, we're super excited. I mean, the trip looks real cool. Great job organized, but we're excited just to spend some more time with your kids and be a part of their lives, be good mentors and teachers for them while experiencing new culture as well.
As a science teacher, I'm super excited about this trip. So if you have a student interested in science, this is what they should do.
Thanks. So we'll just spend a few more minutes discussing the second trip that we're going to offer this year. And interesting. So the second trip is run through a company called Deer Hill Expeditions. Deer Hill Expeditions is located in southwestern Colorado, and they have been in existence since 1984, so just about the same number of years as ARC. And they've been developing field programs for middle school and high school students that weave together wilderness adventure, community service, and cultural exchange. And they really pride themselves on custom trips for teenagers. And they really have focused exclusively on the American Southwest. And they've spent the last 30 plus years developing relationships with Native American tribes and local ranchers. And so cultural exchange is a big part of what they do. So this year we'll be going to the Colorado Plateau and also visiting the Hopi Indian Nation. And of course, it's really a partnership between Deer Hill and Wasatch Academy. And as I was listening to Brian discuss some of the highlights of the Ecuador trip, this trip is really following a very similar template to Ecuador, and that we really want to get a group of teenagers, a group of Wasatch Academy students out together in some wild environments, learning together as a community. I mean, that's a big piece of it. It's not just the place you go, it's the people that you go to the place with, and you learn with them. And it's really, that's what forms the lifelong memories, is not just the place, but it's the people and the relationships that you develop as you go there, and Deer Hill is all about that.
Keyboard must be done.
Their mission is to empower the individual, in this case Wasatch Academy students, to create authentic connections to self and community through wilderness service and experiences. Their core values really use wilderness and challenge by choice as a context for self-awareness, compassion, service, community, and diversity. So, much like ARC, the people that run Deer Hill and the instructors that are with your students, that's kind of where the buck stops. You can make a really pretty website and a really pretty brochure, but it's the people that are with your kids that make the difference, and they deliver the experience. And Deer Hill knows that, and they know that the people are the heart and soul of their business. And so they are very selective with the instructors, and they do extensive staff training. Like ARC, everybody is WFRD, if you will, Wilderness First Responder, and CPR. And there's always a sat phone on the trip, satellite phone. When you're doing backcountry trips or trips back into the backcountry, that's kind of the industry standard. All your instructors should be WFRD and first aid trained, and they ought to have a satellite phone. So at any given moment, you can communicate to them and they can communicate to you. You do reserve that for emergencies. It's not just for check-ins, it's for emergencies. Because you really do want to embrace kind of that sense of being out there. And David calls to mom and dad are not part of that. So, Deer Hill, it was started 35 years ago by Doug Capelin and Beverly Capelin. And they came out and had a dream. They had a dream of establishing a field school focused specifically on teenagers and getting teenagers out into the wilds of the American Southwest. And they've been doing that for 35 years. And like I said earlier, they've been developing relationships since then. And it's those relationships with the local ranchers and tribes that really help to really form the foundation of their trip experiences. They also have established partnerships with the local land management agencies, the BLM, the Forest Service, the Park Service, Fish and Wildlife Service. So community service has to do with not only the local and regional Native American tribes, but also the public lands as well. Base camp. Deer Hill has a 130-acre base camp in southwestern Colorado, and it's a beautiful base camp. I mean, 30 years ago, they probably got this land for a real bargain. And now they are just west of Durango and just north of Cortez. And it's a beautiful piece of land. And that's where we will actually start and end our trip. We'll spend a day and a night at their base camp at the beginning of the trip, and then a day and a night at the end. And they have a full service kitchen. They have a sweat lodge, they have a swimming pond, and then rustic lodging. And of course the meals, most of our meals are in the field, but the first meal and the last meal are kind of a celebratory meal where you celebrate the beginning of the trip and then kind of a closure meal at the base camp. There's the swimming pond, and you usually hold a class or two there. So, the San Juan River and the Hopi Indian Nation, that's really are the two main components of the trip this year. And basically, we'll be spending about a week on the San Juan River, which is a Class 2 river. Again, just enough to keep it lively and interesting, but it's not really anything close to, Class 3 or 4, which is something you really have to kind of metaphorically buckle up for. Class 2 river is pretty mellow and enjoyable, and the San Juan River is an absolutely gorgeous place to spend a week. So we have 14 days, one river, one Native American family, hundreds of miles of journey together, creating memories for a lifetime. Again, you can see a similar template between these two trips. The idea is to have kids learning together in beautiful places. So we're going to travel down the ancient, majestic San Juan River, have a lot of fun. That's an important piece of the formula. And embrace the slow pace of the river. Anymore these days, getting out on the river means you leave your cell phone behind and you really do embrace a slower pace of life. The river every day is kind of it's your way, it's your travel, it's your vehicle, and it's the context for your travel. And at the river, there's nothing quite like river time, where you get to just sit by the shores and make new friends and forge new friendships that you will have sometimes for a lifetime. So floating down the San Juan River, there are Indian ruins, archaeological sites that we visit, plenty of opportunities for water fights and day hikes. One nice thing about river trips is that you can get to places with a short jaunt from the river that would take you weeks to access with a backpack. The San Juan River goes through. That is the goosenecks of the San Juan there on the top. You travel 11 river miles and actually only make it 3 linear miles. And you can see how it snakes through those incised meanders. And so it's absolutely incredible geology. And the night stars are off the charts. And again, you have pretty good food on the river because you're not putting it in a backpack. You get to carry it in coolers and have big kitchens. So the food is amazing, and it's a good time there's plenty of time to relax. Plenty of time to have fun in the river and on shore. Yeah, that looks like fun. And you will have chances to bathe. We don't actually have full-on showers, but you can see we have excellent bathtubs. The canyons of the San Juan River are truly amazing. It's awe-inspiring. After a week on the San Juan River, then we'll spend about 5 days on the Navajo and the Hopi Indian Reservation doing community service with Native American family. Again, these are relationships that Gary Hill has forged over the last 30 years. So we're working with the grandchildren and the children of the folks they worked with 30 years ago. And the relationships are really strong, and it's a chance for the students to really not just read about, or it's a chance for the students to experience firsthand the challenges and the gifts of being a Native American in this country. How tough it can be to live between two cultures, yet to have access to the beauty of the Colorado Plateau and what is really a much simpler lifestyle than what we're used to. And the students, again, they do community service for this Native American family, everything from learning how to weave blankets to helping them construct adobe dwellings to building palapas and helping them plant their crops. Now, when we go in March, we'll be on the other end of the season. We won't be actually, harvesting, or there probably won't even be anything growing above ground in March, but we will be planting probably. And the Hopis are famous for their dry land farming, no additional water, and they kind of pride themselves on growing corn, beans, and squash with just the precipitation that falls out of the sky. And so our students are involved in a variety of service projects, whatever the family needs on the land at that time of the year. And it's not all clean fun, right? I mean, you get dirty, especially if you're working with adobe, but there's times to relax and form those friendships in this community service. And then we also get some special treatment in terms of going to find archaeological sites that are on the Hogan Navajo Reservation, and with explanations and interpretations from that. And there's plenty of kids their own age on the reservation, so they actually get to hang out not just with the elders, but with the other Native American teenagers to have a shared experience. So this kind of trip is backcountry oriented, so we're doing a lot of camping. We do have a day and a night on either end of the trip at the base camp, but for the most part, we're camping out along the river and we're camping out on the Navajo and Hopi Indian reservations. So the reason we're having this informational meeting this early is because we need the deposits early. There's things that need to happen in terms of plane fares and other planning. And so, just so you know, these are the deadlines for the deposits and the payment dates. And these same dates are on the brochures and the flyers that we have out there. So with that, I think we'll open it up to questions about either trip. And you have Brian's email and you have my email. And so if you think of questions after this, please feel free to email us, or you can actually you can also ask Joe Dixon and Jeanette Newton too, because they're the teachers that are going to be with your children in the field.
I also did put some business cards over on the table as well, if you want to grab one of my business cards.
Yeah.
How do you expect the water and the camping weather to be in Colorado and more?
It'll be the beginning of spring. So, on the shoulder season, here's the one thing. I was talking to the Deer Hill program coordinator, and depending on the weather, we might actually do the river trip on the second half of the 2 weeks rather than the first half. We're going to pick the best weather and do the river trip during that week. So we're ready to flip-flop the itinerary in order to accommodate the good weather. But in terms of water temperature, that's a tough one. It'll probably be in the 50s. Yeah.
You just get rain, shine,
Yeah, and the nice thing about the early season river trip on the San Juan is not a super splashy river. Matter of fact, there's a few days where you get splashed and the rest of it can flow through some amazing scenery. We'll make sure the students have the proper gear. That's the key. They say there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad gear. So we'll make sure they have the right gear. Same thing with ARC. They make sure students are bringing the right gear, because I'm sure you can get all kinds of weather.
Yeah, all kinds of weather. And the water in the Galapagos is, pretty chilly as well, so they'll have wetsuits and things like that if needed. Any other questions? Well, so that you guys find a program that will fit your students. Two really cool different experiences.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
yeah.